Check.
Okay. Yep. Good evening, everybody.
It's good to see a standing room only crowd, and so we're going to get right to the business of this meeting. Speakers addressing an agenda item. We only have one speaker, and that is James Dumphy. I think you could sit over there at the table. Yeah, right, anywhere, one of those mics over there. Sure.
I have some pamphlets here, the set of letters to the editor that I had published some time ago. Okay. I heard about changing to stressing college goals for city school district students.
Sir,
I think that's a good
sir,
idea.
Could you sit down?
sit down and get closer to the mic.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hello there. Yeah. Good. Now, I heard recently about the idea of stressing college goals for our city school district students, and I think that's a good idea, but we don't want to miss anything else either. So I believe the effort to guide students towards college should not exclude guidance towards the traditional trades. It is true that there have been changes over time, but we still need carpenters, masons, automobile mechanics, and now they call them technicians for a very good reason. Automobile technician is very, very sophisticated nowadays. So we need more technicians and skilled medical workers and skilled nurses. And we need machinists and welders. I've worked in machine shops and know a little bit about that. Students might be able to qualify for some of these occupations right out of high school, or with some on-the-job training, or with some specialized college training. Schooling with those goals in mind for those who are not four-year college bound might be more interesting for students and give them some more direction. It might also provide a more disciplined educational environment. Now, we need another Edison Tech, and I was going to suggest East High might be a good Edison Tech. And there's some talk about what are we going to do with East High. I heard that in tonight's news, and I think that's another good starting point. There is one advantage we have over California. What does California matter? California is extremely short of water. Pure water is used extensively in making microchips. There's about 3,000 processes of making some microchips, and after every process, it has to be washed clean with absolutely pure water. We've got plenty of it here. So we have that big advantage over California. And if the kids have some goals in their educational thinking, you might experience fewer discipline problems. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is discussion of options for East High School. As the board has repeatedly laid out over the last month or so, we have decided to pursue as many options as possible. And so tonight you will see the board discuss those particular options. There are three that are currently on the table, two that you know about, one that you do not. The first one is the school transformation proposal. We had the support and encouragement and guidance and insight of members from the community, along with our staff that reviews RFPs. They helped us vet the school turnaround proposal. We got a lot of great questions. I think there was just short of 50 questions for a very lengthy proposal that I think was about 130, 140 pages. We had a follow-up meeting where questions were asked. The folks from School Turnaround were gracious enough to come in. We listened to their responses, and quite frankly, they surprised, I think, some people, including myself. That is option A. Option B, you're going to hear from Dr. Vargas in a few minutes. The board, very concerned about making sure that this community had options, asked Dr. Vargas and his team to put together a plan that we could present to the state. And Dr. Vargas and his team put together such a plan, and we appreciate the effort that they put into it. We know it was not easy to do it in such a short time frame. And then there is a third option, which again, I think no one except my colleagues and Dr. Vargas knows about, and we will share that with you after we have a chance first to hear from Dr. Vargas. Then the board will conversate about school turnaround, and then we'll talk about that third option. Dr. Vargas?
Thank you, President White, and members of the board. Let me just say that you are very wise to consider multiple options here. I've been asked to deliver in the least favor of mine, which is phase in, phase out. This district have been engaging phasing school in and phasing school out for a very long time. It haven't paid off for multiple reasons, which I'm not going to get into it tonight. Needless to say that I arrived here 3 years ago. I had a 34 school that either were closing out, what we call a phase out, 10 of them, 8 which have been newly opened, then we had about 9 redesigned, and about 11 which was scheduled to be restructured as a K-8. So needless to say, the district need to be careful in how we proceed with our next step. And that is credit to the board in terms of being wise enough to understand that we perhaps need to reconsider a different path here and have as many choices available for members of the community and the staff. Is a wise decision. So as President White mentioned, you're going to have 3 choices by the end of the night here. As I said to you, I make no claim, given the track record of phasing and phase out school in our district and elsewhere, I haven't been a champion, but I have an obligation to present you with a credible, strong, best effort plan. Members of my team have worked very hard. There are too many to mention. Members of the East High School community also have been partnering through so many forums and conversation and group meetings. So it took a lot of effort in our part to present to you. The plan has close to 60 pages, so it's a long document. You will have time to read that at your pleasure, I'm sure. But tonight what I'm going to present to you is a brief description of what is in the plan, and it's something that we will be available to answer any question that you might have. So we were asked, the state, as you know, sent us a letter on March 14. We needed to submit a plan by May 15. So we have about 9 days left before we had to submit that plan. The 5 choices that the state gave us was close the school and relocate the students. We said that East High School is too valuable, has too many great legacy, great program, great student, great staff that we needed to be careful, and the board and myself concluded that we were going to put that off the table for consideration. So phase out and phase in, as we referred to it, that's the plan that I'm going to present to you tonight. Again, not necessarily my favorite one, but it's the one that I will present to you tonight. Contract and educational partner organization, I think that you heard from the turnaround school. That's another plan that is under consideration. Convert the school into a charter school, what is called charter conversion. That's an option that the board, neither myself, have considered, and allow SUNY or another college or university to run this school. And again, also the commission required for us to send students from East to BOCES for career and technical education, and we had done that. And the reason we had done that, because we believe on it. We believe that our children should have as many opportunities as children in the suburb. And BOCES have great program that our students can benefit from it. Again, this is just a summary of the phase out, phase in, contract with EPO, charter conversion, and SUNY, and offer BOCES opportunity. Again, that's recapping what I just heard early. Stakeholder, we did some engaging and involvement. Thank you. Members of the board, with East High School community, with parents, family, community, you name it, and the staff. And this is the documentation of the meeting from March 17 all the way to April 18 that we did engage at the April 18. Then we went to work. And in my plan, you will see that we incorporated some of the input that we received from members of the community when we were gathering information to put the plan together. These are the requirement by state regulation for phase in and phase out. A student in phase out school could transfer to other high performance school. East student can also attend BOCES programs. Again, we believe that programs such as the BOCES program for career and technical education had to be a valuable option for all our students. But in this particular case, we're starting with East. The phasing school had to be sufficiently different than the current school. So you had to change administration. That's some of the expectation. Also, the staff, about 50% of the staff had to transfer a new educational program. These are choices that this community has seen for far too many years, and we know how disruptive it could be. It's not an easy plan to execute, but nevertheless, it does comply with the expectation, or with one of the expectations from the State Education Department. For our plan, these are some of the elements that we have incorporated. Individual learning plan for every student to lead to graduation. Again, all students' requirement will be reviewed. Administrator and faculty will serve as a case manager and monitoring progress for no more than 10 students for each staff member. A new course offering will be provided. We will expand our career and technical education. We do know that students that are engaged in career and technical education had a greater chance to graduate than those who don't. And one of the challenges that East High School faces is graduation rate. That's what cited. So obviously we are looking for a strategy that could allow more students to graduate on time. The East High School has some strong programs that we believe could be expanded, such as the teaching and learning and other that if this plan were to be approved, we will expand in those programs that are proven to be helpful to help our students succeed in school and also for college and career, and for job as well. We don't need to apologize to say that that is, you can be ready for college and career unless you begin at least with being able to handle some minimal tasks that you could be employed. And that many of our students, for all kinds of reasons, need to work at the graduation or during their school experience. BOCES program at 200 hours to our CTE program. We just concluded a report that says that our children in the Rochester City School District, when coming to a career and technical education program, are being shortchanged because they don't have the same opportunity in terms of instructional time or time on task. Our students experience 200 hours less than the typical student that participates in a CTE class at BOCES program. Again, those are strategies not just for East, but also district-wide that we are going to work. In our budget, for example, we have some dollar assigned to that effort to rebuild a program that we used to have at Edison and elsewhere. We need to work hard and fast to make sure that we close the opportunity gap for our kids to participate in CTE program, and East is a good place to begin. We will offer a 9-period class, special education students and IEP will be review our special education population. And when you look at the report or the proposal, I urge you to look at that area carefully, because our special education student at East High School and in the district, we have one of the lowest graduation rate for special ed students in perhaps the lowest in the state. And we could do better than 19% or 20% graduation rate. When 80% of our student population are not making it, everybody should be losing sleep. When our most vulnerable students are not obtaining a high school diploma, which is minimal to participate in this economy and in this society. Now, we do know that we provide valuable services for many of our special ed students that have serious challenges that might not get a local or regular diploma, but the majority of our students in the special ed students as capable as any group of students in this county, in this state, or in this nation. And there's no reason, if we all work hard as a community, that we cannot do better, not just for special ed students, but for all our students. 7th and 8th grader, we're proposing, as was recommended, that we keep them on Martin Street. And also, when we go back east, if this plan were to be adopted, a call also for creating a separate wing for the high and middle school, I'm sorry, for the 7th and 8th grader, which again was another recommendation that came from the east community and also from families and all that. We had 3 academic transitions. One will be the Foundation Academy for 7th and 8th grade. We will have a 9th grade academy. Again, that's a strategy, an approach that have been utilized throughout this country. We do know that far too many of our 9th graders, it's almost like if it was a parking place for them. Many of them do drop out during 9th grade, and we had to put every effort to make sure that we don't lose them, not just in 9th grade, but let's try not to lose them before then, because as I said to you before, that we need to strengthen in the entire system. Our children, for the most part, don't drop out in 9th grade. They drop out early on. It happened to be the 9th grade is when they age out, or when they, by age, are allowed to do so. And that's why we need to strengthen our 3rd grade reading level, to monitor children from pre-K, every grade level, that they are on track. So 9th grade is too late to intervene, but that's what we are now. We are not giving up on any child, but we are going to make a strong emphasis on the 9th grade academy at East. And then we have a pathway where students are going to be participating more directly on career and technical education and other opportunity. For example, like the teaching and learning. We do have a shortage in here, particularly African American and Latino teacher, and also teacher in the area of math, physics, and chemistry. And again, no one argue with me. Our children are as smart as any group of students in this county, in this state, and this nation. And a dream to become a teacher should not be out of reach if we work hard and also use a lot of common sense. Small learning community for 7th and 9th grade will be part of the component. More on learning, high quality time with support, extracurricular activity for a student, and to where it's possible to help our student obtain a job. We know that our students that are working during their high school, they have a greater chance to graduate than those that are not engaged at that level. So this plan will call for a stronger participation in the part of the business community as well. This is not something that the school board or the district can do alone. This will be a year-round school. Again, common sense tells us that if a student comes behind, part of the practice is now, I do know that principals know this, that there are so many kids that we send home in June, knowing that even those that are on track are going home to experience what is called the summer learning loss, and also many of our kids are behind. And also, we know that our students need more academic, social, emotional, and physical support. And common sense tells us that if you want to do more for our students, that you need more time. I mean, I don't understand why it's so difficult to understand that we can no longer continue an agrarian reform, that if you went to school here in 1920 and you come back, the calendar haven't changed that much. But yet we want to do more for our children. And if we do, we're going to have the time. Now, that doesn't mean that teachers are going to show up or students and spend 12 hours, but school had to be a flexible places to respond to the needs of our students. They come to us with complex needs. And I told our partners, for example, East High School has about over 15 partners. Please don't just come and help me during instructional time. Our children need coaches. They need club. They need mentoring. They need support. They need job. But no, all of that cannot take place. They need academic tutoring. They need a lot of help. They need counseling. But all of that cannot take place during the 6.5-hour day. And as I told you before, the Saturdays for me used to be Wednesday, because I would go to East, and by 1:15, it was like you sweeping the school, and all the children would take a bus and go home, and there would be few left. That's not a way to run a school in the 21st century, particularly when you have technology and the needs of our kids need more. So I'm very passionate about this, as you can tell, and we're making some progress, but not fast enough. And my hope is that we can continue to reflect and ask, what are we doing here that is not yielding the result that we want? And I would tell you that part of it had to do with the calendar. Career readiness is part of the curriculum. Again, we're trying to engage partners such as Connected and others to help us with a strategy in which we're strengthening our career and technical education. This is very important. We do have a lot of students, for example, from the East neighborhood. This was another recommendation, that we should provide students that live in the East neighborhood the opportunity to go to the neighborhood school and to develop a stronger relationship between families and school and students. And at one point, people used to take significant pride about the school in the neighborhood. Support our administrators and staff, more training, more professional development, increase coaching, and bring external experts. I'm not afraid to ask for help. For example, the Connect Ed has a proven record from California to Detroit in helping districts improve graduation rate using the career and technical education. We will do national search for school principals should this plan be adopted, so that the right expertise reside at the building level to execute on the change that are part of this plan. We need to establish a culture of higher achievement, something that I've been talking about, higher expectation for every child, higher expectation from the superintendent to the cafeteria lady, families and community for our care and ourselves. And again, to summarize, year-round calendar, also behavior, something that we heard about East High School. We should not have student behavior and discipline plan if we are not going to implement it. So parents have to buy in on the student to execute and make sure that we demand that attendance improve, behavior need to improve, and also effort. Again, as I mentioned, we need to expand on making East a neighborhood school. Listening to our community. We did listen well, I thought, given the challenge and the period of time that we had available. We were asked to consider separating the early grade from the student at the high school level. That is in the plan. Provide more personalized instruction and social-emotional support. That is in the plan. Build on the success of East High School programs such as Octex and teaching and learning and other programs. That is on the plan. Expand on the flexibility that we need, and that is on the plan. And build relationship with neighborhood school and engage parents. That is in the plan as well. Let me just summarize it by saying, as I mentioned to you, I do believe that as strong as this plan might be, there is room for this board, and I'm pleased to hear that you will consider. And actually, in the actual plan, I'm joining you in asking the state to give us more time for other organizations. For example, I did receive an email from Johns Hopkins University. They are interested, if we give them more time, to put an application to be considered for an EPO. And there are others that have contacted us that are willing, and I do believe that if we were to proceed carefully and consider the stronger plan that is in the best interest of our students, we cannot afford to repeat the mistake of the past, and that is closing and opening a school is no strategy. If that was, we would be a very successful district because we had done our fair share for the past 15 years. So thank you, and welcome any question that you might have.
Any questions?
I did a great job, so thank you.
Dr. Vargas, thank you again.
The only question I'll ask real briefly is that, just to clarify, you're basically saying that, and I know this already, but you're not really a big proponent of phase in, phase out at all in terms of a strategy for overall improving.
And that is correct, Commissioner Evans, and the reason is basic on experience, but also even this plan cannot be executed with the greatest fidelity by September 15th. So again, what I had done in here is that we will respond to what we've been asked by the state. And you have a viable plan in here that if you were to consider and submit it to the state, it's a very serious plan with serious component, but one in which I'm reluctant to endorse, given that if we were to execute this by September, I'm afraid that we will fumble in the implementation. Anyone could write a great plan. The question is the execution. And also, given that we had done this in this district and elsewhere, you know, the credibility eventually that we have with our stakeholder and the state could be a question as well. And I just raising common sense question.
No, thank you.
Sir, unfortunately, we set aside time for people to talk, and that was earlier on. So unfortunately, there's no public comment. No, there's no public comment. No, these are questions that the board asked to the superintendent, all right? Any other questions from the board regarding Dr. Vargas's proposal? Again, Dr. Vargas, thank you for taking on the most difficult task of providing a plan in a very short period of time and addressing the most challenging proposal, phase in and phase out. I know that was not easy, so we appreciate that effort, and we want to thank you and your staff for doing that. Next, we have to address an agenda item. Any other questions? Nope. No. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a number of forms regarding East High School's proposal, and we have allowed people to speak at every forum, and we've included people in the subject that we're just about to talk about, which is a school turnaround proposal. And we said to folks, it was put in the press release, if you wanted to speak today, you had to call by 12 noon. I should tell you all, if you are patient, you will see the conversation is not over. Let us do our agenda. Thank you. Second item on the agenda was a discussion regarding school turnaround. That was a proposal that was made, that we had extensive commentary. We included people from East High School. The first thing I want to do on that agenda item is have those people that participated from East High School stand up, and I want to give them a round of applause for participating. Stand up. Thank you very much. My only regret is we can't take more time to thank you for all the good work that you put in. You came up with about 50 questions on a 133-page proposal. We are eternally grateful for your effort, and we really do appreciate that. Are there any questions? Oh, and I should thank Beverly and Ed and Gary for their work. I know Ed is here. I know Beverly was here. Thank you again for your work on this proposal. Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding school turnaround's proposal? There being no questions, we have one other option which I want to share with you, and then I'm going to ask Commissioner Powell to make a motion. I propose, with the support of the board, I've talked to a number of board members about this, but I propose that a letter be sent to Commissioner King that reads as follows. Dear Commissioner King, on behalf of the Rochester Board of Education, I am writing to request an extension to the time frame for submitting a plan to the State Department of Education to address the academic progress at East High School. The board recently received a letter of intent from the president of the University of Rochester, Joel Seligman, which expresses the university's commitment to submit a proposal to serve as Educational Partnership Organization, or EPO, for East High School. The board is requesting additional time to provide an opportunity for the university and others to conduct the analysis and planning necessary to develop a comprehensive and credible plan for our community and for your consideration. Enclosed for your review is a letter of intent from the University of Rochester, along with letters of support from the district's collective bargaining unions representing the interests of teaching and non-teaching staff. Thank you for your continued support for the Rochester City School District. Sincerely, Van Henry White, President, Rochester Board of Education. What this proposal does is it gives us more time. And in the tradition of how we conduct these meetings, let me once again first thank the Board of Education for having the foresight and the wisdom to understand that you could not put forward a credible, meaningful plan without the time that is necessary to do that, so that you can hear from people, so that you can dialogue with people, so that you can talk to stakeholders. Secondly, I want to thank Dr. Vargas for his cooperation. He's known about the fact that we've been looking for other options, and he's been very supportive of that. Of course, our thanks should go to the University of Rochester. They stuck their neck out in a number of different ways. They didn't do what a lot of people were tempted to do, which was to file a proposal, perhaps with not enough time to really analyze what was best for this community, and again, to listen to folks. They said, we're not going to do that. We're going to take our time and submit something that is meaningful. And what they submitted was a 14-page letter of intent, very specific in its detail, about what they believe is necessary to provide a comprehensive and meaningful plan. It provides, this 14-page letter of intent provides a timeline and conditions that are necessary for 2014, 2015, interim steps that can help East High School along the way, and foundational commitments to come up with a meaningful EPO plan. Let me emphasize, the U of R is not saying today that they will be the EPO. What they're doing is they're sticking their necks out and saying, give this community more time. And you can applaud the U of R for that. Please do that. So, pursuant to our rules, I am required, before I send any letter to anybody outside of this building, I have to have the board's permission to send such a letter. So I would ask that one of my colleagues submit a motion, make a motion, so that I am authorized to sign this letter and send it off to Commissioner King.
Mr. President, I'd be honored to make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a unanimous vote. Yeah, you can applaud again. I will sign that letter, and we will send it off tonight to Commissioner King. Again, I ask for your indulgence and patience. This is a work in progress, and the work that needed to be done could not be done in 6 weeks. We need at least 6 months. Thank you.
And if I could comment on that, there is no guarantee that the state will give us an extension. We asked for 3 months last month and got 2 weeks. There's no guarantee that the state will take us seriously, but I think that because we honored their 2-week extension and seriously considered the school turnarounds proposal and continued by asking the superintendent to pursue his alternative and actively work through some other interested parties, namely the U of R, we can only hope that the State Department of Education will recognize that we're taking this matter seriously and acknowledge that real transformation takes more time than they've been willing to give us to date.
Anybody else?
No, I just want to say that this is also a great opportunity for everyone in this community and for my colleagues on the board for us to understand that going forward, Commissioner White has talked about a pipeline. As we look at other schools, we have made a commitment that we won't be put in this position again, where you're almost, I don't like to use violent references, like you almost have a gun to your head, and you have to move more quickly. So this is great news. Hopefully we will get more time, but in the interim, we have a lot more work to do because we can be ahead of the curve on an elementary school or other schools where we can start trying to make sure that we work with the superintendent and support the superintendent in terms of putting plans for other schools that might be in a similar situation as East High School did. Because any school could be a step away from being where East is. And it's our obligation right now to make sure that that does not happen. Because we know who they are, they're on our radar, we know that they may be on life support. We need to see what we need to do to jumpstart them so they can continue on in a way to be successful. And the last thing I'll say is I was very disappointed. It was a good story, but I'm a city school grad, so I take a lot of this stuff personally. East High School is not dead either. And I thought... And the president had the best line in that story. He said the patient isn't dead yet. It's not over yet. The jury is still out, basically, is what he said. So I think to the students and families in this district, know that the Board of Education does not think that any of our schools are dead. And there's not any particular person that's responsible for murdering our kids. And that's not an image that we want to have in this community. East High School is not dead. East High School will rise just like other places will rise, and we'll do that together as a community. It's not dead. You're not dead. And even those who would believe that, I would say that you have to have hope in this community, and we have to speak hope to our children, not death. Thank you.
I'd just like to add the appreciation for the work that went into getting to this point in time. I think there were a lot of moments where members of the East High community and the broader Rochester community were very disappointed and feeling very down about this situation. So I want to acknowledge the work that's been done by the superintendent and his staff in terms of communicating with the State Department of Education. And I really want people to understand the incredible job that President White has done in terms of navigating what is somewhat of an unconventional and difficult road to get to this turning point. And again, I want to emphasize what Commissioner Powell noted, that this is not an announcement that the University of Rochester is the EPO or, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But in terms of navigating to this point of real hope, I really want to acknowledge the administration, the board leadership, my colleagues on the board, and others throughout the district for that work. And I also want to say that it's important, I think, that we recommit ourselves to making sure that we do what you know, what has driven us, I think, to this seeking of an alternative local solution, and that is that we always talk with the East High community, with the students. We've seen the brilliance of the students, the parents, the teachers, the alumni. That brilliance that we saw at that first public forum and the second public forum is really a very valuable thing, and I think, you know, I commit, and I know that my colleagues are supportive of making sure that we have real conversation, real sustained dialogue about the solutions, because there are really, really positive things going on at East High School, as people have noted, and I won't go through them, but I'm very well aware and very able to list that litany of very strong programs, people, and students at East.
All right, and I need the staff's help for this. What is it that you say at school? We have the ability to change the world, East High. Let's get to work. So, in lieu of that, and in lieu of this proposal, let's get to work. So thank you very much.
Not to be left behind. I was struck the night when we had the public hearing and the conversations, and what struck me was, if we started every single year with an assembly of parents, teachers, community folks, students, with the kind of fervor that we had that night, I'll tell you one thing, I will guarantee you, we will never ever have a failing school in this district again. So I think, you know, a lot of times people come up to us and say, well, all you got to do is this one thing and you'll change the district. Well, we know that that's not true. But I will tell you that one thing that will take us a very long way to change this district is the kind of energy that was displayed that evening, the kind of passion that was displayed that evening, the kind of, you know, it's okay to fear, because sometimes fear motivates. Those kinds of things are so important to our students and to our staff and to our administrators. We've got to be able to understand that just because if we're dealing with one school, we're really not. We're dealing with many schools in this district. We're dealing with a lot of children who are facing failing schools. We've got to take on and make sure that we have that same fervor that we had that night at East High School and replicate that fervor around the district, to every school, to every classroom, to every office. Because short of that, we're going to have a very difficult time finding our way to success in our schools. And I think there's some lessons to be learned here with East High School. I think there's some things that we need to take a look at, things that are going to teach us what we need to do in order to turn our schools around. And it's not an answer on a PowerPoint. And it's not a proposal from somebody from outside. It's really about what we as parents, what we as administrators, what we as teachers value and hold as a priority in our districts and our schools. And I think it's just important. I think we've got a lot of lessons to learn from what's going on at East. I hope that that message is carried. I hope that people hear it, because if we don't, we're going to have these same conversations over and over and over again as we go from one school to the next. And I don't think anybody on this board, anybody in this administration, there are no teachers here, administrators, students, or parents who want to have and continue to have this conversation. So I thank your support, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job.
Okay. Let me just say, again, because I think it bears worth repeating, the president of the University of Rochester and the Warner School really stuck their neck out here. They did what no one else was willing to do, which was to have the courage to say, no, we're not going to just submit something. That was difficult. And I hope that we have folks in this room, as Commissioner Cruz says, he didn't say it like this, who have the courage to do what is right, which is to step up, not just complain, but to work on this problem. President Seligman signed his name to this letter, this very lengthy letter. This problem is not going to go away with him signing his name on this letter, right? Everybody is going to have to do their job, and they're going to have to be very serious about it. And people are going to have to make sacrifices, and people are going to have to be willing to do stuff differently. All right? So I look at this, as Melissa says, and as everybody says, as a start. Right? This is a beginning. But Dr. Vargas, President Seligman, the members of the board, Annabelle, we cannot do this alone. And one of the things that we will emphasize with the U of R is this has to be grassroots. This has to be collaborative. They are just the EPO, but they have to pull in partners that represent what is best about this community. And chances are, those folks are in this room. This is not the U of R's burden. As Commissioner Cruz says, this is the community's burden. All right? So, can I get a motion for us to, any other business? We're going to go into executive session. We have to talk about stuff that doesn't even relate to East High School. All right? Have a nice night, relax, and be ready to work tomorrow.
Thank you. I like that.
Hello there, yeah, good. Now, I heard recently about the idea of stressing college goals for our city school district students, and I think that's a good idea, but we don't want to miss anything else either. So I believe the effort to guide students towards college should not exclude guidance towards the traditional trades. It is true that there have been changes over time, but we still need carpenters, masons, automobile mechanics, and now they call them technicians for a very good reason. Automobile technician is very, very sophisticated and nowadays. So we need more technicians and skilled medical workers and skilled nurses. And we need machinists and welders. I've worked in machine shops and know a little bit about that. Students might be able to qualify for some of these occupations right out of high school, or with some on-the-job training, or with some specialized college training. Schooling with those goals in mind for those who are not four-year college bound might be more interesting for students and give them some more direction. It might also provide a more disciplined educational environment. Now, we need another Edison Tech, and I was going to suggest East High might be a good Edison Tech. And there's some talk about what are we going to do with East High. I heard that in tonight's news, and I think that's another good starting point. There is one advantage we have over California. What does California matter? California is extremely short of water. Pure water is used extensively in making microchips. There's about 3,000 processes of making some microchips, and after every process, it has to be washed clean with absolutely pure water. We've got plenty of it here. So we have that big advantage over California. And if the kids have some goals in their educational thinking, you might experience fewer discipline problems. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.